Hello, everyone. I'm Steve Roses from HeinOnline, and my colleague Tim Hoagie is here as well.
Everyone.
We're very excited to present this HeinOnline academic webinar, including information about researching the history of Indigenous peoples. We are first going to start with a little bit of a PowerPoint, and then we will switch and show you HeinOnline Academic itself. We're starting with what we're going to be covering. And by the way, we're doing this particular session in honor of National Native American Heritage Month. So we're very excited to celebrate National Native American Heritage Month. And we are going to give you a little overview of HeinOnline Academic. We're going to tell you some of the content included in the package generally. We're going to feature an add-on database called Indigenous Peoples of the Americas, but you'll see that you can also research Indigenous peoples in the main HeinOnline Academic as well. And then Indigenous Peoples gives you even more information, that collection. And you can research Indigenous history and culture in HeinOnline, and we will be answering questions. So a little bit of a background about HeinOnline Academic. It's the package of HeinOnline collections that we offer to colleges and universities like you. We now have hundreds and hundreds of subscribers in the United States and the world for that matter. HeinOnline combines integrative resources which give you access more than 3,000 multidisciplinary journals, for example. We just reached that 3,000 number. Every single journal on HeinOnline goes all the way back historically as well to the first issue. So we have historical content as well as current content. As history is a huge part of HeinOnline, but also current content is as well. And then we have original primary sources, both in terms of things like case law, in terms of government documents and statutes, and books. We have international documents where you can locate the original treaties, national constitutions, foreign policy documents, and more from countries all over the world. And with the Indigenous Peoples collections, we have Indigenous treaties as well for the United States. And we have state and federal case law, as I mentioned, and a whole slew of additional government documents. So all in all, in HeinOnline Academic Package, which is priced quite affordably, there are 36 databases, 1,500 academic topics contained in those 36 component databases, and we now have over 1,000 subscribers to HeinOnline Academic. So, Indigenous Peoples of the Americas is an add-on collection. What does it have in it? Well, it's a comprehensive list of 418 treaties between the US and Indigenous peoples, 416 of which are in full text coverage. So one great thing, the Indigenous collection allows you to look at all these Indigenous peoples treaties. And we also have Indian tribal codes, where you can peruse tens of thousands of pages of Indigenous tribal codes with analysis of trends in coverage, enactments, and amendments. Of course, we've added to this, like we have in all parts of HeinOnline, serials. So you can access more than 25 related serial titles, including the Indian Law Reporter, which is an essential comprehensive resource. Some of you may be familiar with this. Yes, this is a great resource. Thank you for pointing that out. We hear all the time about how the Indian Law Reporter and this whole Indigenous Peoples collection is a very important resource. And then finally, we keep adding more and more materials. What are some of the additional materials? Well, like HeinOnline Academic itself, we have legislative histories. It's important for you to see congressional intent or what the Senate and the Congress are intending by certain statutes. So you're able to look up Indigenous statutes or statutes related to Native peoples, and you're able to see the legislative history, you're able to see the acts, you're able to see the constitutions of specific tribes, bylaws, landmark Indigenous cases, congressional hearings, full text congressional hearings from Congress dealing with Indigenous peoples, government reports, the Model Tribal Probate Court, and more. Now I'm going to share my screen. Tim, do I have control now? I think I have control. I guess he's going to tell me if I don't have control. I'm assuming I do.
Yes, you should.
Oh, excellent. And thank you. And now I am going to go into HeinOnline. Just want to confirm that you can see my screen. Can everyone see this screen that says trial on next thing and says case law, and it says browse databases by name? Excellent. So this is what it would look like if you didn't subscribe to HeinOnline Academic and you had a trial of both the HeinOnline Academic package, which has 36 different collections, as well as this additional add-on package called Indigenous Peoples of the Americas. And as I mentioned, in HeinOnline Academic, we're dealing with primary documents, journals, government documents, case law, as well as over 18,000 books. So we have 18,000 monographs and treatises in here as well. Also some think tank materials, and we just keep adding more and more materials. One of these 36 collections actually specifically deals with something very relevant to Indigenous peoples, which is civil rights and social justice. We have a whole collection on civil rights and social justice in addition to this Indigenous Peoples collection I'm going to be talking about. But our largest collection, and perhaps our most well-known, is our journal library. And this is what houses the 3,000 plus journals, now 3,009 journals that are in HeinOnline. And if you're looking for the monographs and treatises, this is the key area, usually in the legal classics with its 18,000 plus monographs and treatises, some of which deal with Indigenous studies related topics, but all across the board. We can see we have 18,325. And then in here you have all sorts of congressional materials. One of the, perhaps the most comprehensive congressional collection available. You have the congressional record, the predecessor versions of the congressional record. You have such as the Annals of Congress. You have the daily version of the congressional record going all the way updated daily. And then you have things like congressional hearings, well over 70,000 congressional hearings, full text. So if you want to see what Congress is thinking when they're passing certain pieces of legislation, you can look at that with this special, with this part of HeinOnline Academic. So I'm just going to close that. Now I'm just going to show you some of the functionality. So let's say we, at any one time, by the way, we can go and research in all of these databases. Notice if we were to search in this box here, we would be searching all the databases in HeinOnline Academic, or we could open up an individual database or collection and just search in that. So if we want to just go in the journal library, we click on the Law Journal Library in this case, and now I'm going to go into it, and then I will show you some functionality specifically within this collection, but we can also show you the other collections. So I'm just clicking on it. I'm going to use my finger because my mouse didn't respond. Okay, well, let me start by opening up the Indigenous Peoples collection. Okay, so we're in the Indigenous Peoples collection. Oh, no, we're in the journal library. Sorry about that. So we're in the journal library, and right now I'm going to do a search. I'm going to do something related to Indigenous peoples. So I'm going to put in Alaska, and let's say tribal land, and I'm going to put Inuit. Okay, so now we're going to do a search. This is just a regular query search within the journal library. And let me see, I didn't spell Alaska correctly, so I'm going to add the S to it. Now we're going to try this again. Okay, and you see we have 106 results. So we have some articles here dealing with, for example, the impact of climate change on the Inuit. We have conflict in Alaska, which deals with environmental land dispute resolutions. We have some compensation and reparations regarding Indian property claims in the United States. For the sake of an example, let's use this article. Now, notice here on the right, this is a pretty significant article. It's been cited by 43 other articles. If you want to go to those other articles that cited this article, you can click here. It'll take you to the full text of those other articles. If you want to go to the case that cites this article, the judge actually cited this article in a specific decision. If you want to go to the full text case, You click here and it'll take you there. And you'll notice that this is very popular in a rolling period on HeinOnline. It's been looked at 37 times, this particular article. So let's open this article up so just so you can get a look at some of the functionality here. And now if we want to just see what we can do with these different buttons, this is where you would download, this is where you would print, this is where you would email this. And not only email it, but you can pick and choose the format. Notice you can put this in Blue Book format or APA or Chicago or MLA. Here's where you would, and this doesn't have to be to a subscriber. This could be a temporary link to a total stranger or someone from another institution. You could email them a link to any document you find in HeinOnline. Here's where you could change this to just regular text. Now, if you wanted to cite this, because you're writing a document that involves this article, you could cite this article and you could cite it in all of these different formats. And notice we work with RefWorks, EndNote, Zotero, and Noodle tools, and we work with all these different citation formats. So just be aware of that. If you were using this for a course or someone was using this for a course and you wanted to have a permanent link to this particular document, you just click here and you get a permalink. Now, you may know from using HeinOnline or seeing a demo that we have something called MyHein, which is our bookmarking tool. Whenever you see this symbol here, that indicates you can save a document in MyHein. You can also set up your own MyHein profile, and you can create table of contents alerts. You can organize the documents you find on HeinOnline. Each individual user can use this as a bookmarking tool. So MyHein can be a really wonderful resource. Because this is an image, fully searchable image, and the images on HeinOnline are fully searchable and backed up by the OCR text, you could change this to text at will. Just click here. Now you're dealing with just regular text. Now you can change it back to the image. Now, because it's on HeinOnline and everything's integrated together, and this is a research database that really is a solution to so many things, because we hypertext link the related government documents, the related cases, the related statutes, the related congressional record materials. Everything that's on HeinOnline that's within another document is hypertext linked, and you click on the blue hypertext link and it'll seamlessly take you to that. So we're adding a very important additional value to these materials, in addition to having many documents that are not available elsewhere. Okay, here is how you would make this full screen. You just click here. And then this is a feature called More Like This, which you can use on any topic. In this case, I'm using More Like This on this particular topic, which is related to Indigenous peoples. What this is going to do is it's going to run the most interesting words from the article. And it's going to find like articles by looking at the most interesting words. So let's see. And you'll notice it picked up on the words restitution, Eastern, property, manuscript. So it came up with a lot of results, which I may like these new results, or I might want to tweak this even further. For example, it might be very important for me to have the word Inuit in the article, and I might want to fine tune this. I might want to boost the word. I might want to lower the word Eastern Europe, and I might want to raise the word property and boost it. Notice this is a visual learning tool. It's a sliding scale, so you can pick it. And I'm going to put in the years that I want to research, let's say just 2010 to 2021, although obviously in many cases you can go back to the 1800s, because HeinOnline also has that historical depth as well. But let's look from 2010 to 2021. And as you see, we found new results, and we might find some of these valuable, and we can look through those. But that's a great, relatively new tool, which is the More Like This algorithm. So just be aware of that. In addition to doing query searching and searching by browsing, you can do the More Like This algorithm. And I want to show you another new feature we have, and this is especially helpful for a subject like Indigenous peoples. I'm going to go into, let's see, well, I'm going to go into the Law Journal Library again. Now, last time I clicked on it, it took a few seconds because of my computer connection, but I'm just going to wait like as long as 20 seconds because I think it's important for you to see this. And here we are. Now we're in, we can research in our taxonomy, our classification system called Pathfinder. And some of you who have seen HeinOnline demo before may not be familiar with Pathfinder because it really is brand new. and it gives you subjects, categories, and topics to research. Now, I'm going to show this classification system to you graphically, and this is a way that your students and faculty members can approach researching in HeinOnline Academic. Yes, we have the humanities with law, but we also have applied sciences. We also have things like natural materials. We also have things like social sciences, and you can really approach HeinOnline from an interdisciplinary area. So if I were looking at this and I wanted to get into something like Indigenous studies, I might go into the social sciences and click on race, ethnicity. And if I click on race and ethnicity, I might look around to see if there's anything on Indigenous peoples. Does anyone see something on Indigenous peoples? Yes, there is a whole section here within race and ethnicity on Indigenous peoples. And if I click on that, it's going to start to take me to results dealing with Indigenous people. So the Pathfinder feature is really helpful in like fine-tuning, especially visual learners, allowing them to go right into what they're looking for. And speaking of visual search tools, I'm going to go right now into specifically this add-on, which is called Indigenous Peoples. And I'm going to show you a search tool that's actually in many of the different collections. And that is our Venn diagram feature. So I'm going to go within Indigenous Peoples of the Americas History, Culture, Law, the American Indian Law Collection is what it used to be called. And just to let you know what additional information is this adding to the table on Indigenous Peoples, legislative histories. It highlights the CFR Title 25, which deals with Indigenous studies. The US Code Title 25, which deals with Indigenous studies. We have serials specifically on Indigenous peoples. We have the Constitutions, Acts, and Bylaws, GAO reports materials related to Indigenous peoples, Congressional Research Service reports regarding Indigenous peoples, any congressional hearings that have dealt with Indigenous peoples, Indian tribal codes from a variety of tribes throughout the United States, and more being added all the time. Model tribal probate code, because a number of the tribes have tried to have a uniform approach through the National Conference of Uniform State Laws. And so we have the model tribal probate code here. We have Indigenous Peoples treaties related publications, so you can know how to use the treaties, other related works, bibliography, scholarly articles, and a LibGuide specifically dealing with researching Indigenous peoples in HeinOnline. Now I'm going to go into the advanced search, and I'm going to do a Venn diagram search, which is a relatively new thing here. And I'm going to do a topic which is sometimes in the news, which is the topic of cultural appropriation and I'm going to do this with, I'm going to say Indigenous and clothing. Let's see the results here, specifically in the Indigenous collection. And as you see, we have some results. So this is good also for visual researchers. These are all the results here for the term clothing within the Indigenous collection, 13,000 results. This set here is the results for the term Indigenous within here, 4,780 results. Note, this is just in the Indigenous Studies collection. And then here is cultural appropriation, which in itself has only 26 results. Now, what we want to see is the overlap between these three terms. So we don't even just want to see clothing and Indigenous or clothing and cultural appropriation, which is this little red area. We want to see the documents that have all three, and that's just this red area here. So let's look at some of the results that we got from this very specific, right on point search. Here's an article, Paradigm Wars Revisited, New Eyes on Indigenous Peoples' Resistance to Globalization. This is specifically from Indigenous Peoples Journal of Law, Culture, and Resistance. Here is an article, Cultural Sovereignty. This is actually not an article. This run here is from Congress, a congressional, from a Senate hearing from the Committee on Indian Affairs. It's the Cultural Sovereignty Series, Modernizing the Indian Arts and Crafts Acts to Honor Native Identity and Expression, field hearing before the Committee on Indian Affairs. And then here's another something from Congress, from the Senate. This is on stolen identities, the impact of racist stereotypes on Indigenous people, and this is from a specific hearing. So which one do we want to see? Well, I'll just show you, well, let's look at this cultural sovereignty series. Notice it's right from a hearing from the Committee on Indian Affairs, and we can get a permalink to it like we could an article or like we can a book. We can print, we have all the same functionality. We can make it full screen, and we can take it away from full screen. So lots of different features here, and this permalink feature is great. I remind people, if you're having a trial of HeinOnline or subscribe to HeinOnline Academic, to make the permalink work remotely, it's very easy. You just fill out a form with your proxy information, and that will make your permalinks work remotely. So just be aware of that. Okay, so there's great resources here as far as being able to get help when you need it. We have a live chat functionality from 8:30 to 6 Eastern time, Monday through Friday. So if you ever have any questions, you can live chat us. Now we also have, if you're wanting to see what's new in HeinOnline, including what we've added, for example, on something like Indigenous Peoples or civil rights, just in a given month, because every single month we're adding new material to HeinOnline. We never take material away. We just keep adding more and more journals, more and more books. Very often, new collections that are just free and added to HeinOnline. We just keep adding material. And if you want to be able to check that out, what we've added in a given month, you can go to the monthly content release and check that out. Now, if you want help, you can go to our LibGuides. We've done LibGuides on Indigenous Peoples, all the major collections in HeinOnline Academic. You can use our LibGuides at will on your website. So we're very proud of our LibGuides. Often they have videos. We're also proud of our knowledge base, which allows you to easily research topics like how much you can download, go to our user guide, etc. Just click on knowledge base, put in your questions, and it will help you. You can also get to the user guide this way. And then we have, where it says user guide right here, we have a whole blog, which we recommend you subscribe to. It's free. And you can actually research at will on different topics. You can actually go to research topics. For example, you might want to research something like Indigenous Peoples, and you can go to that. We have criminal justice articles, we have economics articles, education, environment, gender studies, health and medicine, history, human rights, international relations. Yes, you can use HeinOnline to research all those areas and many more. And that's why we have blog articles on all these different things, even political science, pop culture, etc. So science and technology. So HeinOnline can give you, these blog articles can give you a whole additional insights on how to find different areas on HeinOnline on specific topics. For example, here, I happen to have the mandates to vaccinate, a brief history. So definitely check that out. I believe we just did a blog article, or it's going to be released any day now, on HBCUs, historically Black colleges. So that's an exciting new article we have, and we just keep adding. And if you have ideas for articles for the blog, let us know, and we'll consider it as well. So with all of that said, do we have some questions? We do not, counter compliance is not on our immediate radar. It's something that comes up from time to time, or we do an analysis. Not to say that we will not become counter compliant, because we certainly like their technology, et cetera. So we'll just keep considering that issue, and thank you for raising it. And so, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if one day we would be. But there's no immediate plans to provide compliant usage. Let's see, you like the graphic feature? Yes, and these features, the graphic feature it's a work in progress. It's obviously new to HeinOnline, so we're just going to keep adding more and more to the Pathfinder feature. And that's why your feedback, positive and negative, can be very beneficial to us. So do not hesitate if you have a trial to share that. The resources in the Indigenous Peoples collection are not part of HeinOnline Academic. It's an add-on. There are lots of Indigenous Peoples materials in the main HeinOnline Academic package, but that's why I also made the point of going into the Indigenous Peoples collection, and showing you additional materials that are on there. So yes, there are some Indigenous materials in the journals and the books that are just organic to HeinOnline Academic. But if you're really going to focus in on that area, you would want to get the Indigenous Peoples add-on collection as well. And you're welcome, if you don't have a subscription now to HeinOnline Academic, to trial both at the same time, as many schools have done. So just be aware of that. Do you have any other questions? Let's see if there are any other additional questions. Oh, with easy proxy and permalinks, we have a form called a branding form, and you just fill out the branding form, which we can send to you, and you give us that information, and it'll make your permalinks work remotely as well as on campus. Yes, there are a lot of materials that are in the Indigenous Peoples collection that are not in the HeinOnline Academic. There is some overlap because we wanted the Indigenous Peoples collection to also reflect some of the Indigenous Peoples materials that are in the main HeinOnline Academic. But we've added a lot of additional materials, such as the bylaws and constitutions and the Indigenous treaties. And that's why that's such an essential collection if you want to really do a lot of research in that area. Does anyone have some more questions? The duration of a free trial. Well, for HeinOnline Academic, generally, if you don't subscribe, we offer a 6-month free trial. If you already subscribed to HeinOnline Academic and wanted a trial to a given collection, we usually do it about 30 days. Like if you've already subscribed to HeinOnline Academic and you wanted a trial to the Indigenous Peoples collection, we could give you a 30-day trial. If you needed a bit more than that, of course, we could extend it. So yeah, we're pretty flexible with things like that. Oh, the costs again, as Tim pointed out, if you're adding Indigenous Peoples to your HeinOnline Academic package, $688.50 is the first year. And then the price goes down to $395 annually. That's sort of the model where it starts off a higher amount and then it goes down. And then if you just wanted a one-time fee to just have Indigenous Peoples forever, that would be a one-time fee of $8,995.50. And then that would include updates, and there would be no maintenance charge or anything like that. It would just be, it would give you access forever to that collection. Date where you need to subscribe to get that price. Tim, do you know how long we're keeping that discount to get the discount off of the first year?
Yeah, it's December 31st, so by the end of the year.
So that gives you, so it's not just say till the beginning of December or something. It gives you all the way to the end of the year to decide whether you want it, and you're welcome to, and that gives you enough time to have a trial of it. Yes, we could give you just email us. My email is sroses@wshein.com. That's SROSES@wshein.com. And Tim Hoagie is T-Hoagie, which is THOOGE @wshein.com. And anyone who's interested in seeing a PDF or a brochure to the Indigenous Peoples collection, just let us know. We'll send you that brochure, and you can take that to your collection development team, and they can decide whether you want a trial. And we like setting up trials for people because they get to see what we have to offer. So definitely, if you're interested in this topic and you get HeinOnline Academic already, just email us and we'll send you the Indigenous Peoples brochure.
And I also put a link to the database's website in the chat, and at the bottom of the screen is a link to that brochure. So if you want to just grab it from there, you can do that as well.
Here it is. Yes. And don't forget, we have a LibGuide on many different collections in HeinOnline Academic, but we also have a LibGuide specifically to the Indigenous Peoples collection. So, and yes, we're going to just keep adding new materials to the Indigenous Peoples collection. And there is a Pathfinder LibGuide, as someone asked. Yes, so we can help you get the most use from that new tool, the Pathfinder, which was that circle that showed you all of those great ways to go into HeinOnline on a multidisciplinary level. So thank you, everyone. I think we've gone 2 minutes over, and I appreciate your patience with us for that, but I really enjoyed this, and I think you will get a lot of use out of the Indigenous Peoples collection. Certainly worth a trial, and if you don't have a HeinOnline Academic subscription, certainly worth taking a look at HeinOnline Academic, because it's a real resource that your students and faculty will get a lot out of. Thank you.